Episode 2 of the third part can be considered the most well-rounded episode of this season. While there were other great episodes like episode 6 of the first part, this one stands out because it combines good animation, solid pacing, expanding the story and giving characters more screen time. So we can say that so far this is the best episode until now. This episode, guys, shows how Kubo and his writing and production team managed to create such a well-coordinated and impressive battle using only about 22 pages of the manga. Imagine that a chapter, along with a few pages, was enough to produce such an incredible episode. That's why, guys, in this video, I will go into detail about the new approach of the studio. And if they continue like this, with this method of adaptation and pacing, what we saw in this video is just the beginning of bigger events and epic battles. That's why, guys, let me first show you how the battle happened in the manga. Actually, it wasn't even a battle, it was like a brief clash between Yhwach and Ichigo. In the manga, Yhwach stopped the Soul King, and immediately after that Ichigo sent Ichigo to stop him, and we have seen Yhwach standing in front of Ryo. And Kubo showed scenes of the Gotei 13 and Urahara preparing to head to the royal palace. These scenes took up most of the chapter, and Kubo ended it with Ichigo talking about how humans can't defeat Yhwach. Then Kubo shifted back to the Soul Reapers, where Okitake, Izani and Hanataro appeared to join the others. And it's important to say, guys, that the anime is setting the stage for scenes that will likely appear in the next episode. In the manga, Okitake explained that he was healing the wounded Soul Reapers, including Zaraki, and he did that with the help of Izani and Hanataro. And this was shown in the anime with a scene of Okitake healing Zaraki. So I believe the anime will delay all the scenes involving Okitake and what happens in that chamber until the next episode. And also one thing, guys, the anime fans or the anime viewers should know that the scenes between Ichigo and Yhwach in the manga were not continuous, but interrupted by moments involving the Soul Reapers gathering in that chamber, followed by scenes with Okitake and Aizen souls. And for example, chapter 613 and 614 mostly featured conversations between the Soul Reapers about how to get to the royal palace. And at the end of each chapter, Kubo was moving the story a little bit between Yhwach and Ichigo. In chapter 614, the first 10 pages were a conversation between the Soul Reapers, and the last 8 pages showed what happened in the episode 2. So in the manga, Ichigo approached Yhwach, saying that he would stop him, and Yhwach replied that he had already foreseen that. Unlike the anime, Orihime noticed the change in Yhwach's eyes, and Yhwach told them that he knew they had met Ichigo and saved him, and then he told him to go to Yhwach and stop him. However, Yhwach said that they were too late. Ryo has already died, and Ichigo saw the sword inside Ryo and pulled it out, and then the Quincy blood inside him was activated, and as you have seen, he caught the Soul King. And that was the end of the story between Yhwach and Ichigo in the manga. It was like that, too short. After that, between what happened in that scene and the next scenes of Ichigo and Yhwach, there were a lot of different events, like as I said, the meeting between the Shinigamis in that chamber, and also the events of Okitake and Kyoraku's meeting with Aizen Souls. So as you can see, guys, the events in the manga were a little bit chaotic. Those who read the chapters weekly will remember how it felt to go through chapters like this, where half the content was Soul Reapers talking to each other and interrupted by brief skirmishes between Ichigo and Yhwach. However, the studio did a great job in fixing that problem, because the studio now is no longer doing a direct adaptation of the manga. Instead, they use the manga as a starting point and build up upon it in a more cohesive way. The main focus of the episode was the fight between Ichigo and Yhwach, so they focused entirely on that event without adding too much, which would have distracted viewers. In the past episodes, especially in Core 1 and 2, there were often 2 major fights or even 3 events crammed into one episode. However, in this episode, guys, they focus only on Ichigo versus Yhwach and didn't remove the scenes involving Okitake and Aizen. They just delayed them to allow these events to have their own episodes. And this approach, guys, allows for better pacing and more depth in each storyline. For example, I always said that before the anime even was released, when Yhwach came to Ryo, there should have been a flashback showing some of Yhwach's relationship with Ryo. Not a full flashback, but at least some short scenes showing their connection, especially since Yhwach refers to Ryo as father. So the inclusion of that flashback at the beginning of the episode was a smart move. It made us rethink many things and gave us an answer, like confirming that Yhwach was in the original world or the internal world. Another difference from the manga is that the anime gave us the reactions of everyone involved in the battle when Yhwach stabbed Ryo. In the manga, Kobe didn't show this. We only saw the aftermath when Ichigo cut Ryo. In the anime, we saw Mayuri's reaction realizing that the Soul King, whom he called the Keystone, had been removed. We also saw the reactions of Isshin, Ryukin, Rukia and Rinji. So these reactions all happened as Ichigo reached Yhwach. When Ichigo told Yhwach that he was there to stop him, the anime at that point took his own path and started the fight between Ichigo and Yhwach in its own way. And what we can say, guys, about this fight is that the studio based it on the final battle between Ichigo and Yhwach from the manga. For example, Yhwach started the fight without using the All Might, then he later used it to finish the battle, or the involvement of Inoue in that fight in healing Ichigo. So these are all elements that the studio employed in that new fight. But the big difference is that the anime reused some techniques from both Ichigo and Yhwach that weren't in the manga. In the first clash, Ichigo showed great fluidity in his movements, avoiding Yhwach's attacks and pushing him toward the ground. That's when Yhwach stopped Ichigo's blade using the Blut and activated Zanktbogen, the same technique he used in his fight against Ichigo. Previously, Yhwach used it to return to the Royal Palace, where a bow forms behind him and releases massive arrows. What normally he does, he directed those arrows at his enemy, but this time in his fight against Ichigo, he directed them at himself to ascend to the Royal Palace. And against Ichigo, the attack was direct, but Ichigo used Getsuga Tensho to stop it. Then Yhwach used what he calls Quark Heights, the same technique he used in their fight in episode 7 of the first core. At that moment, Ichigo was fighting only with a small fraction of his powers. That's why the technique at the time was devastating and crushed Ichigo. And more than that, guys, what we can say about Yhwach's techniques, especially the offensive ones, is they consist of multiple bows and arrows of various sizes and shapes. For example, the technique Quark Heights forms a circle surrounding the enemy, composed of several bows that fire arrows from all directions at the same time. However, this time Ichigo could block it easily. And this highlights, guys, the massive difference in Ichigo's power before and after discovering the truth about his abilities. At the same time, Ichigo responded by using his new technique, Getsuga Jujutsu. I'm really starting to like this technique, guys, because of its destructive power, especially since Ichigo uses both of his swords to release it instead of just one, as he do with Getsuga Tensho. He tried not to make it too destructive, I think, when he was fighting Candice. But against Yhwach, though, he achieved something much greater. He broke through the Zankzwiener, the defensive technique Yhwach used against Yamamoto, the fake Yhwach. Ichigo was able to break it and hit Yhwach directly. And what is good, guys, about this battle from a technical standpoint is that we saw several techniques from Yhwach, and it also gave us a glimpse of how Ichigo's level had risen dramatically. However, despite all its power Ichigo gained, once Yhwach activated the Almighty, the entire flow of the fight shifted in his favor. All of Ichigo's attacks became predictable for Yhwach, and this guys tells you that Ichigo still needs more strength if he hopes to fight or to match the Almighty. Of course, he got the Horn of Salvation at the true Shikai level and the Bankai, but I hope you got my point, guys. And also, guys, that fight wasn't just for the sake of fighting. It wasn't a fan service fight. It also served the story's lore. During the battle, Yhwach revealed important information about the Soul King Ryo. For example, he mentioned how Ryo protected the internal world from darkness, which is a crucial information. Yhwach described that ancient world as internal, meaning, according to him, there was no death in it. He also spoke of the darkness that posed a danger to that world. And Yhwach didn't stop there, but he also gave us the true name of Ryo, Adonios or something like that. Another great addition that wasn't in the manga was Kobo in the studio giving us a reason why Yhwach waited for Ichigo to catch Ryo. In the manga it was only explained how the blood of Ichigo was activated, as Yhwach explained how his power works. However, in the anime, Yhwach confirmed something I have been saying for a while. Yhwach couldn't kill Ryo himself and was waiting for Ichigo to do it. In the anime revealed the real reason, which is that only someone who possesses the power of a Shinigami, human, Quincy, Fullbring, and Hollow could break that seal. And these guys show you the power of the seal and the power who made it, the ancestors of the noble families. And the ending of the fight was consistent with the previous events. Even characters not directly involved in the battle added depth to it, such as Orohara Kiski. His words at the beginning of the story linked perfectly to what he said during the fight, as he mentioned how the Quincy existed outside the established system and disrupt the flow of Rishi. But Yhwach saw this as no reason for Ryo to abandon them, considering Ryo was watching over the 3 worlds but he did nothing. In the end, guys, this is how episodes should be. This is how the transition between events should flow. When the pacing is balanced, neither too fast nor too slow, and the focus is on one event or two rather than cramming multiple events into a single episode, you end up with an episode of this quality. And of course, let's not forget the amazing work done by the animation team for this episode. It was amazing, especially the fights of Ichigo and Yhwach, and exactly when Yhwach was fighting Ichigo as one of the cities of the Zero Squad members. Especially the face of Yhwach, his eyes, Ichigo, the movement, the camera angles, everything in that episode was perfectly done. In the end, guys, what do you think about this episode? And can we see like that more in the next episode? Tell me guys your opinions in the comments and see you in my next video.